In the previous part, we saw that Sigrun confessed to Fiona that he likes her and wants her by his side. In this part, we will witness Fiona's response to Sigrun's confession. Here we go. Fiona is sitting at the dining table, but her eyes have a tired look, as if she didn't get any sleep at night. She is thinking only about Sigrun's confessions, and she is blushing very hard. She looks very cute when she blushes. She thinks that the things that happened last night weren't a dream but a reality. Meanwhile, Abel sees Fiona and asks her if something happened with Sigrun yesterday. She remains very quiet, and she thinks that Abel read the situation very well. Despite declining and saying nothing happened, Abel persists, asking if Sigrun confessed his feelings for her or if he did something annoying to her. Abel tells Fiona to share what happened, assuring her that he will take care of Sigrun, whether he lets him live or secretly gets rid of him, and no one will get suspicious. Then she tells him about the confession, on which he says that he thought that she would kick him or laugh at him, whereas Fiona says that she is not that terrible person to kick or laugh at someone who confesses his love. Abel says that if she ever needs his help, then just tell him, and he will help her and deal with Sigrun's confession. Fiona says to Abel that he shouldn't get rid of Sigrun. The scene changes, and we see Fiona whining about this being Sigrun's fault, since he confessed his feeling for her out of blue. She can't even ask for advice from Abel. She is thinking that Sigrun and Eunice should have become lovers, but instead, Sigrun has confessed to her. She thinks that she has put so much effort into writing their love story, and she can't even ask him why he doesn't like Eunice. She is thinking, why does he even like her? She recalls her past memories, that they were very good friends, or more like she wanted to be friends with Sigrun. She thinks it was her goal to make baby Sigrun happy. Then she realizes that she was doing that so she doesn't feel guilty or to relieve some guilt of hers. She just wants him happy even when they are not friends. Since she has written this story, it was her guilt that drove her to this extent. Now she feels more guilty because Sigrun likes her without knowing her real identity, whereas she thinks if they follow the original novel, then her death would be inevitable. She would have died a horrible death, and it would be mentally and physically painful. There are more problems, like the sky will be filled with darkness, and beasts will go mad, growing uncontrollably, and no one will be able to stop them. Whereas Eunice's power is needed to drive the darkness away since her power is light. In the original novel, their love made Sigrun strong also. In the future, if Eunice doesn't awaken her power, then this world will be doomed. Rather than thinking about it, she should focus more on Sigrun, who has confessed his feelings for her. She is very confused about what she has to do with Sigrun's confessions. Then she notices that it's not a proposal but a confession, meaning she has to shed some tears and reject him. I want their dating era, not a bittersweet era. Then we see Sigrun has come to Fiona's room and knocked at her door. As he was knocking, he was blushing as always, thinking about what will be the answer of Fiona. As soon as she heard Sigrun's voice, she thinks that Sigrun has come sooner than she expected. Then she resolved her mind and set her mind and says, let's get over with it and reject Sigrun, since they should not become a couple because of the novel's original story. Why is she hanging on the novel's story rather than living her life and accepting Sigrun? She thinks that Sigrun must have made a mistake by having a friend for the first time, and he gave this exciting feeling the name of love. She is terrified since she also flirted with Sigrun many times. Sigrun came inside and said good morning to Fiona with a blushing face. He looks very cute when he blushes. Fiona acts cold in front of him and asks him what it is. Then he shuts the door so that they can talk without any disturbance. Seeing this, Fiona gets shocked and thinks, what, did he just lock the door? She asks him if he locked the door, whereas Sigrun replies yes, so they won't get interrupted by Abel. He tells her if she is feeling uncomfortable, he will stand away from her. Fiona also blushes and says that it's alright and tries to tell Sigrun about her feelings. Then she tells him that after he confessed his feelings to her, she still can't see him as someone who is not family, which basically means she thinks of him as one of her family members. Whereas Sigrun tells Fiona it's hard to talk from this distance, so they should go near to each other and talk. This shocks Fiona, and she stares at Sigrun and comes close to Sigrun. She says to him that he made the confession to her yesterday, and about that. So soon as she says this, he cuts her words. Just then, he tells Fiona why she does not like him. Fiona is stunned, and she hesitates to answer his questions. She starts thinking why she doesn't like him, but she can't think of anything that made her not like Sigrun. As she hesitates, she says that his face is the problem by blushing herself. Where Sigrun tells that didn't she tell him she likes his face even when they were children. Where she also says that his personality is also the problem. where Sigrun thinks he doesn't have an idea why she is talking like this, as if she is trying to dodge the questions. Sigrun asks her what she doesn't like about his personality. Fiona asks him if she ever tells him to change, then will he be able to change himself. That's where Sigrun says without any hesitation that he will change it. Seeing Sigrun's face, she thinks that he is both confident and handsome, and he even said that he will change his personality for her. She turns herself and thinks that this is really a novel in a sarcastic way, since no man in the real world would be like this. Whereas Sigrun puts his hand on Fiona's shoulder and says that once she tells him that if he ever find his love of his life, then he should treat her well. Fiona says yes, she told because she thinking that he will end up with Eunice, and then she asked him what about it. Whereas Sigrun replies that he did that many times and he remembers everything she told him. Then we see he tells her that she also thinks of him sometimes and in a strange way also. He tells her if she is interested in him even just a little bit, then he will not give up. Fiona is shocked and astonished, and she thinks that she always wanted him to be happy. She thinks that the biggest happiness he ever had in the novel is the love he has for Eunice, and this present completely changes everything, and it will become an entirely new story. She takes her hand on his cheeks and says he has always been like this, whereas he holds her hand and says to her that she always thinks that she knows about him, and he will show her that she is wrong. Fiona blushes and thinks she doesn't have the courage to reject Sigrun's feelings bluntly. She thinks if he accepted his confession, then they will become lovers and they will be in a romantic relationship. But in the novels of her between Sigrun and Eunice, they have a destined love where their fate was destined. And if this happens, then there would be no problem in the novel story, and she doesn't believe in that romance since they are destined to meet. She thinks that even if they start dating each other in the future, they will eventually break up, and that she concluded that when the time comes, then they will break up, and she thinks she will wait for that time when Sigrun's feelings will die for her. So the feeling of first love and youth life she wants to feel, all the feeling even if just a little bit. Even they are shining beautiful like stars in the night sky. They will eventually fade away when the time comes and disappear like sea foam. In the future, Sigrun's burning passion will get cold one day. She thinks if she can't reject Sigrun now, then she can do what Sigrun wants. She smiles seeing Sigrun's face. She tells him that she knows that. She lifts her toes and puts her hands around him, and this shocks Sigrun, and he asks what happened. Whereas Fiona gives him a kiss on the cheek, and Sigrun blushes as he gets a kiss from Fiona. Then he moves his head and stares at Fiona's face, whereas Fiona tells him that he wanted to do all sorts of things with her, but he just flinched from a kiss. Sigrun is in awe and happy listening to this and asks her does she accept his feelings for her, where Fiona says that yes, she agrees to be with him. Finally, we are getting their romantic era in which we are gonna see some cute moments. As they stand close to each other, Sigrun was blushing very hard just thinking that Fiona has finally accepted his confession, and now they are in a romantic relationship. I'm very happy about them since I was waiting for their romance. They both come close to each other and they are blushing. The atmosphere in the room is getting intensely hot as the romantic tension between them starts to increase. Sigrun takes his lips close to Fiona's lips as they both are blushing, and they start kissing. Man, what a scene this is. I really feel happy about them. Now they have started their romance. They both together look very adorable. They are kissing when suddenly someone comes outside of the door and smacks the door, and they get interrupted. A voice comes from outside, saying, "I know, Sigrun, that you are in there," and Sigrun gets annoyed since this person is disturbing him while he was kissing the girl he loves. The person says to get out, and he slams the door. The person is none other than Abel. He looks very angry and says that he will count to 5 or he will break the door. An ominous aura they feel from Abel, and they look very terrified. They think that Abel only behaves as a reasonable guardian at a time like this when he should give them their time. Fiona touches Sigrun's lips and says to him that this is it for now, and tells him to leave this for later also. The girl is loving their kiss, and she says to leave this for now or continue later. Sigrun blushes as he says yes to her. Listening to this, Fiona smiles and feels reassured, thinking she will try this love feeling later. Abel's patience has run out. He has counted to 5, and Fiona and Sigrun shout that the door is going to be broken soon. The scene shifts, and we see a grand palace. We see a young man whose name is Cain Erez, the oldest son of Marquess Erez. We are getting a new character in this story. Let's see if he is going to be an evil guy or a supportive and good guy. He thinks that his father was clearly said to him about this mission. We have a flashback where he is with his father, Marquess Erez. His father says to his son that he should keep an eye on the second prince at the palace, who is none other than Sigrun. Cain says to his father that he works at the princess palace, so why he is changing his place. Marquess Erez says that he changed his workplace when he was on vacation. Cain asks him how he changed this, but Marquez changes the topic, saying that he should monitor him very carefully and report to him about Sigrun's every detail, his daily life and work, what he does and what he doesn't. He wants every piece of information about Sigrun, by saying that this is very important to his family, and Cain doesn't have a choice but to follow his father's orders. Then we see Cain, who is also against this since he thinks that this is a pointless thing to do to the person, and this tedious struggle should have ended in his father's generation. It looks like we are seeing Cain is going to become a good friend of Sigrun. He is walking and thinking that he should not get caught since he has come to spy, as he hears a voice he sees at the side. He gets shocked as he sees that sight, whereas he sees that all knights are exhausted, and they are screaming in pain. As one knight says to him, he really came back as he said, whereas Cain asks him what happened here and what happened to all the knights. The knights explain to him that this happens to them because of the training that is way too rigorous for them. After listening to this, Cain says to him that isn't it normal for knights to train this hard? Where the knight gets annoyed as he says they are like this because they couldn't get past this stage. Cain says to him then there should be some sort of criteria for them. And suddenly Sigrun came as he asks them why they are lying on the floor. As Sigrun sees Cain, he asks him who he is and what he is doing here. Cain gets shocked seeing Sigrun. As he sees him, he kneels down and says please excuse me, and he introduces himself to him, saying he is Cain Erez, and it's an honor to see him. He tells Sigrun that he is following the supreme order of his majesty, and from onwards, he is going to be a guard in the prince's palace. He says that he is not competent enough, but he will try his best to fulfill his duty. Sigrun sees him and gets shocked and thinks who is this trembling guy. He sees Cain and thinks that this is the first time he has seen someone who is greeting him in the proper manners. Then the scene shifts, and we see at the crown palace and we see some liquor bottles and someone shouting, "Damn it." Then we see the person who is none other than the crown prince, and he kicks the table, saying and cursing at Sigrun. Then we see the maid is terrified by the crown prince. The crown prince says that his life was perfect until Sigrun came into his life. He thinks by then he was the only son of the emperor, and no one dared to displease him. However, he thinks that the day Sigrun became the second prince, his position got in danger. Sigrun is also the illegitimate child. The crown prince drinks alcohol and says that he thought he would accept him if he was a rat. But as soon as he came to high society, he pushed me against the wall and threatened me just because of some woman who is also an illegitimate child. He thinks when he becomes the emperor, the first thing he is going to do is put Sigrun to the guillotine. Guillotine is used to kill the person by cutting his head. He was drunk, and he says, is there any way to make Sigrun suffer since he tries to threaten him? Look like the crown prince's end is near since he is going against our main lead. Then he suddenly got the idea to make Sigrun suffer. He knows that Sigrun only cares about one person who is none other than Fiona, and Fiona can be his trigger to ruin Sigrun. He recalls the scene where Sigrun holds his neck, saying he should not mess with Fiona. He thinks he is curious to see if he touches her, then what will Sigrun do? He also thinks that since she is an illegitimate child, then Duke Hellion will not do anything or he will not care if something happens to her. Look like the crown prince doesn't know that Abel cares for Fiona and she is most precious to him. The crown prince gets excited, and his face gives creepy vibes, and he thinks there is nothing in this world that can stop him since he is the crown prince. He shouts, saying call my assistant to his maid. Now our video ends here. In the next part, we will see what the crown prince is planning to harm Fiona, and what Sigrun will do to him if he ever touches the girl he loves. Thank you for watching our video. For the next part, click on the left side of the video. Please like and subscribe to our channel.